Welcome back to Gooner Fanzine TV after a thoroughly disappointing 1-0 loss to Aston Villa. I'm joined by Dan the Man Mountney and Grumpy Glen, which I'm sure you've got a lot to say. Glen, we'll start off with you and your view on Kolasinac.
Well, my old pal sitting there, Mr. Dan, is is of the same opinion. I just think he's such a weak link. Not sure how many players are going to be able to unload next season, but I really don't think there's a place for him. He just, he's just so ponderous, so ponderous. As I said to you before the cast or this, you know, Tierney came on and Tierney makes vital runs, was bombing up the left, and there were 2 or 3 occasions at least where Kolasinac, he can only play on one foot, can only play the way he's looking down at his feet. And, you know, it's just sort of like potentially really great moves were just snuffed out.
Yeah, I mean, Dan, you've been suggesting Kolasinac hasn't got enough skill for the Arsenal team. I think today did prove it once again. He did look pretty tragic in most events. But what did you sort of think of his performance, Dan?
I can genuinely feel the anger like building up inside me. He's just awful. He's just so bad. He's not very good defensively. It looks like he's always going to make a mistake, and he's not comfortable on the ball whatsoever. I mean, tonight he just gave the ball away so many times, and as Glen said, moves broke down because he just can't play the passes needed, and he's really comfortable off one foot. We saw that against Tottenham. That's why he made the mistake in that game. But we're going way back for that. But he's been there 3 years now, and I can't think of a single outstanding performance that he's put in, and you can say that for a lot of the squad, to be fair. And he's one that just needs to be jettisoned basically because he's not at the required level.
Well, a player that we have just signed, Cedric, obviously on his debut scored a goal for the fourth goal against Norwich today. Couldn't put a single cross in. Glen, you've obviously watched the game tonight. What do you think of Cedric?
I think, to be fair to Arteta, there's obviously the cup final at the back of his mind. But, we started with what I would say was some of the second-string squad players, without a doubt. I think he knows his most likely team to win a game. But, Cedric, again, I know, again, my old mate Dan, he's not a fan. But, yeah, I mean, just... there's so many times for an outlet, and he just doesn't do it, does he? He doesn't do it.
Yeah, he's definitely a poor man's Bellerin in terms of sort of being that winger and crossing the ball. I think, I said at the time he will be a squad player, nothing more. And I think today did illustrate that. He doesn't quite have... He's not
even good enough to be a squad player. I'm sorry, I can't see through this any longer. He's not good enough to be a squad player. He shouldn't be at Arsenal whatsoever. I had plenty of question marks when we signed him. We've seen him for many years at Southampton, and never once have I looked at him and thought, he could play up a level from Southampton. He could play for a top 6 team. He's not good enough. He shouldn't be there. Why we've signed him on a 4-year deal is beyond me. No idea. He put in 11 crosses tonight, and not a single one found 3 strikers in the box. He had 3 people to aim for in the box. Not a single of 11 crosses found a man. It's not the acceptable level, and he's like Kolasinac. He's not good enough to be there, and he's never going to be good enough to be there.
Well, let's talk about the heart of our defence then, Dan. David Luiz today, has he shown improvements continued after the Liverpool City game, or is he still a problem in that central defence?
Well, I don't think he really did anything wrong tonight. He was obviously taken off after an hour, and I don't think he was particularly at fault for the goal. I don't think he really put a foot wrong, but it's the people around him. Holding wasn't great tonight either. There's just so many players in that squad aren't good enough. And I'm not suggesting that Holding isn't good enough, because I don't think he is. Everyone has bad games, but Arteta's got so much to do in the summer, but he's going to have such limited resources, as a banner that was flown over early in the game suggested. But yeah, it's just so many players who need to go, and I think unfortunately Arteta's going to have to work with them for a lot longer than just the 2 games left in this season. So yeah, it's just really frustrating.
Can I just say, I think as we saw on Saturday in the semi-final, his first choice team, really sort of like adapting to that idea of playing it out of the box. I just think there were a few players out there who've not probably had enough games. I thought Torreira looked a bit wobbly as well. Maybe we'll get onto him. But Holding didn't look like he was sort of like fully integrated into that system of playing it out from the back. I thought on Saturday we looked so comfortable playing it out from the back. I've never seen us do it like that. Yeah, obviously, it led to the first goal against City. But yeah, you know, it's going to be a bit of time. I still have a bit of faith with Holding. He just needs games.
No, I agree.
But you know, we'll see. We'll see.
Well, let's talk about Torreira. He was obviously a crucial player under Emery the first half of the season. We've seen him lesser under Arteta and lesser under Lundberg as well. He's played 28 games. He's been in 9 wins, 6 losses, and a lot of draws. How do you think he performed today? I mean, I thought he looked a little bit rusty.
I thought he was woeful, but I think the problem with him is that in the system that they're currently playing, you've obviously only got 2 central midfielders, and you need them both to be progressive midfielders. So as in they're willing to go forward, they're willing to pass the ball forward, they're willing to run with the ball forward. People like Spios and Jack, and that's why they're working so well as a pair, because they're willing to be progressive midfield players. Whereas Torreira, we know, is what you maybe describe as a destroyer, someone who's going to get in there, break up play, win the ball back. And it doesn't work in that kind of system, because then you limit the team going forward, hence why we've not had a shot on target. And he's not going to work in that system. I'm not by no means saying he's a bad player. I'm a fan of Torreira. I think he's a really good player. And I think, you know, when we were crying out for a defensive midfielder, and we were, 12, 18 months ago, I think, you know, he filled that role really well. But he just doesn't work in his system.
Well, I mean, let's try and find some lights of positive, apart from just all the negative. I mean, I thought Lacazette in the first half looked like a better hold-up player than he has previously. He's not the highlights he was previously, but he's looking slightly improved. Do you not agree, Dan?
No. If you're looking for positives, I think the only one was Ceballos, which is a shame because he's not actually our player. I just like everything about him, really. I like the way he gets stuck in, he battles, he tries to get us going forwards, you know, when other players around him are going sideways or not really doing anything. I'm kind of warming to the idea of him being signed permanently, but obviously that depends on funds and other situations. We'll wait and see with that. I think they're talking about another year on loan, which would be good. But to get him signed permanently would be good, because, you know, he's our only midfielder who looks like doing things going forward. He's obviously formed a good partnership with Xhaka as well, and I just think, you know, it's going to be frustrating if he does go at the end of the season.
Well, I've been saying
that. I agree. What I like about Ceballos, and I've probably said this before endless times in various podcasts, but a mark of a good player is a player who doesn't hide and demands the ball. And Ceballos is always screaming and shouting for the ball, you know, gesticulating, like, give it to me, give it to feet. I thought he was good. I thought he was good tonight, Ceballos. He doesn't hide. And, yeah, good player. Good player. Finally seeing what we saw the sort of seeds of against Burnley, which seemed God knows how long ago.
Well, that was about 4 years ago, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Well, I think today showed, you know, Aston Villa did smother the midfield quite a lot. And I think without our first choice starting midfield setup, we were struggling. We couldn't get the ball wide into the middle. When we got into the middle, there was just an array of players everywhere. So do you think Arteta is struggling to find more formations that our players can actually fit to? Or do you think our players are sort of so used to playing in the one way that they are succeeding with that they're not really trying to be flexible?
I think he got the team selection wrong, personally. I mean, obviously, you know, we talked about Torreira and he's trying to give, you know, Xhaka a rest because he's played a lot of football recently. But again, as I said, Torreira doesn't fit the system. And then you look at the attacking three as well. You've got 3 strikers, none of whom do you really consider a creator. You know, you consider them all goal scorers, I think. And I think Lacazette, obviously, as you mentioned, dropped deep trying to get the ball, but didn't really create anything. I think Pepe should have started, personally. I know there's been a lot of question marks around him and his output this season, but as we said, you know, it's a season adaptation, and I think we'll see more next season. But his ability to carry the ball and create things makes him a must in that team at the moment, considering the lack of creative players we currently have. So yeah, I think Arteta playing 3 strikers, it was all wrong.
I think bizarrely we've sort of found ourselves in the same, not exactly the same position, but the position we were in at the end of the season last year, where we're in a final, and we don't know what to put our chips on, whether it's going to be sort of like making that push for any place in the league or whatever. Last year it was obviously Champions League, or just fully focus on that final. Let's just hope that the results in the final we're in this time. It's strange it is against the same team as well.
Yeah.
But, let's hope that works out. But I kind of knew he'd make changes tonight, and I do think we've got a good 11 there. Certainly, Arteta knows the 11 that he wants, but it's going to take time to adapt to the full squad to sort of like link in and fill in and sort of like play that same game. There are a few creaky cogs out there that I would say that didn't quite slot in tonight. But on the plus side, sorry, Sergio might get onto this, but I just thought when Tierney came on, he's such a top player.
He is, and I think he's the player we've been missing for, we've been wanting for a while. And as you say, when he came on, he looked so much more incisive down that wing, defensively, offensively, passing, completion, just looked better. He just looked a tidier player. He's spent many years being a captain and being an influential player in his team. I think that will continue for many years to come at Arsenal. So, like you said, Glenn, he was a positive chink of light in what was a very dark day.
Sorry, there's something else I want to bring up because I've just remembered it and I'll forget it if I don't do it now. Obviously, lack of chances created tonight, and I'm sure Glenn will have an opinion on this. A lot of fans on Twitter were saying, this is what we need or blah, blah, blah. He is not, in my opinion, he's not the answer in this situation. Okay, we need to stop doing this whole thing of he gets dropped from the team, we have a game where we don't create enough chances, and then we suddenly feel the need to go back to him. We need to move on from him now. He's 32, he's proven he's not capable of doing what we need him to do. 2 assists this season for a player on the salary that he's on isn't good enough. So I'd be disappointed if we do end up going to him for the final 2 games of the season, and I've made it clear before, I would like to see him moved on. I don't know what you think, Glenn, but that's my 2 cents.
Can you just clarify what you're talking about? I've got everyone apart from the name there.
Mr. Ozil.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I know my colours to the mast with him, but about 8 weeks ago, I just said we've got to move on. And I think he's done the right thing. There's him and another player who we all know. Looks
a bit like Louis.
Well, the question is, Dan, we obviously had a great chance of European football through the league system if we beat Villa and if we beat Watford in the last game of the season. Obviously, the players themselves must have had their eye on the cup competition. So do you think now we should sort of forego playing our strongest players against Watford and save them for the cup game?
Yeah, definitely. If you'd have asked me that before tonight's game, I would have said no because there was still a chance that we could do it. But I just think now we're obviously need to beat Watford and we're kind of relying on Wolves' result and whatnot. I just think, I'd rather go all out against Chelsea and win the FA Cup and get into the Europa League than beat Watford, maybe not get into the Europa League and throw it all away. So yeah, I'd go with a weakened team against Watford personally.
Can I just go with the complete sort of opposite of that and just play our strongest team, just nail Harry the Hornet down into the Championship?
And Troy Deeney.
When we first started this podcast, I had a real grievance against that, whoever that person is in that outfit. And it still rankles. So he gave me the finger at the away game. So I'd like to give him the metaphorical finger if we win in front of an empty stadium at the Emirates.
Well, you heard it here first. Glenn wants to attack Harry the Hornet, and Dan wants to see a midfield duo of Guendouzi and Ozil against Watford next week and save our strongest for Chelsea. Who would have thought it?